back to my channel. My name is Amy if you are new here, and today I thought we'd run through my film reviews. I have now seen 42 films in the cinema this year, or I've been to the cinema 42 times. I have seen one film twice, but I thought I would run you through what my thoughts were on the films. I realised the last update I did of this was 2 months ago, so if you haven't gone and checked out them ones and you want to see all my reviews for all the films this year, then feel free to go back and check. Some of them may have changed because I do kind of alter them as I'm going. It's really hard to kind of set your pace of what you're going to review stuff as, and then as time goes on, you're like, that was definitely better than that film, and you need to like adjust the scores. Probably what I shouldn't have done such a wide scale. Like I did out of 10, and I'm definitely doing like point something, so you know, I've made it hard for myself. And actually a film critic I watch actually just has a see it now, it's good, it's fine, it's bad, and it's really bad, and I feel like I should have done something like that instead, but here we are. I didn't do that, so you've got my really specific scale. But I thought I'd just run you through the films I've seen, what I thought. Some of these I saw ages ago now, so I'm not going to remember, but anyway, I got it all written down. That's why I might not remember the full plot points and stuff, but you know, I've written down my scores. So the last film I reviewed on the previous video was Fall Guy. So the next film I saw after that was Bad Boys Ride or Die. I gave this a 6.8, which is a good score for me because I'm very harsh. But as you can see, I definitely finding that I'm reviewing things higher as it goes on the year. I think sure it's got to the kind of summer blockbuster season, bigger films are coming out, and apparently I'm liking them. So Bad Boys Ride or Die, I thought it was a really fun action film. It's Will Smith, and I can't remember the other like co-lead's name, but it was just fun. Just big, dumb fun in a fun way. It was actiony. I hadn't seen any of the previous films, which they did kind of nod to quite a lot, but it didn't affect me following the plot because they heavily imply stuff, so you can kind of gather the connections between the characters. But I do think it's a film series, if you had watched them all, you'd probably feel more emotionally attached to the characters. But I did like it. I gave it 6.8, which is pretty good for me, and yeah, it was good. The next film was Young Woman and the Sea. This is now streaming on Disney Plus, so if you have Disney Plus, you can go watch this for free. I love this film. I gave it an 8, and it was one of the first 8s I'd given in a really, really long time. In fact, I think it was the first 8 I'd given basically since like the start of the year. I love this film. I did go back and Google it. So basically it's about the first woman to swim the English Channel. And I did, as I went back and Googled it afterwards, and quite a lot of it is dramatised, which you do expect with these films. But there's actually some like key plot points in the film that didn't actually happen in real life. And I kind of wish if they'd done it completely true to life, I would have like enjoyed it more. But like I did enjoy it. I was just disappointed when I look back that actually some of it was kind of a bit over exaggerated, as I'm sure all films based on a true story are. But I thought it was a really good film. It had me screaming in feminist rage internally, obviously, and it was just a really cool story. So that was a really fun one, and I really enjoyed that, and it's handy that it's now streaming on Disney Plus. Another film that is now streaming on Disney Plus is Kingdom of Planet of the Apes. Again, I'd never seen any of the previous films, so I did watch a couple of like breakdowns of stuff I'd need to know before going in. But again, it's a film you could follow without having seen the other ones. I think you probably just would appreciate it more if you had seen the older ones. I gave this 5.2. I didn't really rate this film. I don't know if it was just because I hadn't seen the previous, but I just didn't love it. I was kind of bored, if I'm being completely honest. I wasn't emotionally attached to the apes, and yeah, I didn't love it. And I also felt like the trailer, I had quite a strong impression of what I thought the storyline would be, and then the film was nothing really like that. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be about the apes protecting this one human girl, but actually I didn't really feel like that was the plot at all. So yeah, I didn't love this film, I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like if you have seen the other ones, like the visual effects are amazing and you can really appreciate that, but that was kind of all I appreciated about this film. It was long and I didn't love it. The next film I saw was Inside Out 2. I gave this an 8. I thought this was such a good film. I do like the first Inside Out film, but it's definitely not one of my favourite Pixar films. Is it Pixar? It is definitely Pixar. Yeah, but Inside Out 2, brilliant. I really liked it. It had me sobbing. I feel like having had lots of friends, growing up with friends who suffer with mental health, it made me kind of appreciate some of the things they were talking about more, and I just loved it. It was so good. I feel like it's such a good follow-up to the first film, as the people who have watched that when that first came out have grown up into like young teens. I feel like it's just a really good film, and I really liked it. And I, to be fair, it was one of the films I was like, I'm definitely going to go see that again. I haven't gone yet, but I would like to, and it is still on in the cinema, and I went to see that in June, and it's August now, and it still is in the cinema. The next film I saw was Freud's Last Session. I gave this a 6.3. I thought this film was good, and it is kind of one of them films that's just set in one place. I feel like I wanted slightly more from it. I don't know what I wanted, but I did want more. I think I kind of wanted to learn more about Freud as a person, and about his work and his childhood and all that sort of thing. I love like a biopic where I learn stuff about someone, but obviously that wasn't what this film was advertising itself to be. It was advertised to be a conversation between Freud and this English actor, which is said to be one of the last people we had a conversation with. But yeah, I feel like I wanted more, but it was a good film. They delve into some interesting topics, as it is kind of just a conversation. Apologies to hear my parents clanging around. But yeah, I thought it was good, but like, I don't know, I feel like I wanted slightly more from it. And that's not to say I don't love films set in one place, because one of my favourite films ever is set in one place. Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. That's like one of my favourite films of all time, and that is set in basically one room. So I like the premise, and I love films like that. I just feel like I didn't connect with this one as much as I wanted to. And also I feel like it didn't help that a lot of the kind of technical jargon was going over my head. Like, they're talking about stuff, and like some of the words, like, these are big words I do not understand. So maybe I was just too thick for the film. That's a high probability. The next film I went to see was The Bike Riders. Boy, is this just a film full of eye candy. I spent the whole time just like obsessed. I gave this a 6.5, not because I didn't think it was good, because again, a 6 is kind of a good rating for me. I just felt like, I don't know, I liked it. And again, it was kind of based on, I think it was based on like a true story about a journalist following this group of bikers like throughout their life. And I thought it was a really interesting concept. I feel like I wanted slightly more. Like, I feel like I like a film that's quite in your face, and this film wasn't really in your face, but it was still really good. And again, the eye candy it just spoke for itself. It was glorious to watch in a big way. Austin Butler, chef's kiss. They're going from a film I didn't think had much of a storyline to a film that had a really, really strong storyline, was Kinds of Kindness. Now, I know this is a really, really divisive film. I feel like people really love this or hate it. I gave it a 7, so I really, really liked it. It's the newest film by Yorgos Lanthimos. I hope I said his name right. He is a director that did Poor Things, which, if you've seen that film, know it's kind of a bit of a quirky, unusual film, and this film is no different. This film is split up into 3 sections, and it's the same actors but completely different storylines, apart from one character that is consistent throughout, but he has a very, very, very minor role, in the point that you don't actually really see him. You see him for maybe one scene, and he is like a background character. I really liked this film. If you like Black Mirror, that's what I think it's quite comparable to. It is very, very, very strange, and you are going to sit there and be like, what the hell am I watching? But I kind of love that, and I feel like, yeah, someone at work really didn't like it and was like debating on walking out for it, and she said I felt like I was watching some sick fantasy. And I kind of get where she's coming from, because it is just really weird. But in the same way the couple of episodes of Black Mirror I've watched felt to me, it's strange, it's interesting. The 3 different storylines are great. I feel like everyone has their favourites. People say that the first one's strongest and it gets weaker and weaker. Although I do think I don't even know if that's maybe the case. I feel like I enjoyed the second story most. I don't know. I thought it was really fun, and it was just a very strange film that you kind of sat there. And it's a 3-hour film, like, get ready for this one. Like, you need to be sitting there with snacks. I don't know if I had snacks. It's a long film, but I really, really enjoyed it, and it was actually a really tiny little screening, and there was only like 4 or 5 people in there, and I know it's really divisive, but I think it was quite good. I'm not sure it's a film I'd rush to watch again, but then in saying that, I feel like I probably would. Out of all the films I've mentioned so far, that probably is one I'd go see again. I don't know, I thought it was cool, I thought it was unusual, and I liked it. The next film was Fly Me to the Moon. I gave this an 8.1, so it was very high for me. This is just fun. Like, it's a rom-com, it's Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson, and I just thought their chemistry was great. It's basically about NASA and about trying to get a man on the moon, and they bring Scarlett Johansson's character on as like a marketing genius to fund NASA's programs, and it's just so good. Her marketing prowess is just unmatched. I loved watching it. As someone who is in marketing, the way she could market anything to anyone was amazing, and I loved that. And I feel like I maybe like loved her character more because of that. I loved her chemistry with Channing Tatum's character, who was kind of overseeing all these missions, and I just thought it was really fun. And basically NASA speak to her and say, you need to kind of fake the moon landing in case we can't do it, and it's kind of about the conflict of her and Channing Tatum's character, him being the science brain who's going to get these people to the moon, and her being the marketeering brain of kind of like making this backup plan, and the conflict that happens with that. But I thought it was really fun. I know it's got terrible reviews and it didn't stay in cinema for very long at all, but I really liked it, and I feel like it's one of them guilty pleasure films. And I've also realised that I love films about NASA and about space. I really like them sort of films. I'm going to forget all the names now. The Martian is one of my favourite films. That's based on Mars. Hidden Figures is one of my favourite films ever. That's based in NASA HQ. Like, I feel like I like films about space. I don't know why. But yeah, loved that. And now for probably my favourite. Is it my favourite film of the year? Have I rated this the highest? No, not quite. But I tell you, I probably should put it up because this is a film I'm going to see for the third time today. I loved Twisters, and I know again it's massive big dumb fun. Do I love it massively just because I fancy Glenn Powell in it so much? Yeah, probably. But no, it's such a fun film. It's a fun action film of people chasing tornadoes, and I don't really feel like I need to say more than that. It's brilliant. It's gone viral. Everyone loves it. I saw it in 4DX the first time, which is literally a must do if you can. And I know by the time this video goes up, it won't probably be in 4DX. In fact, it probably won't be in many screens anymore. But oh my gosh, I loved it. I saw it in 4DX the first time, and when I felt like I was in a tornado, I tell you, your chair gets moved around, wind gets blown in your face, water is raining down, and it's just so much fun. I loved it in 4DX, but I did go and see it again a couple of weeks later in 2D, which I loved still a lot. Not quite as much as in 4DX, because in 4DX it's just so fun. But in terms of enjoying the film, I loved it just as much. And then I'm actually seeing it in 4DX again today with my sister, and I'm so excited. Like, I was actually squealing when I booked it, and like having that effect of booking a cinema trip, obviously considering I go a couple of times a week, is madness to me. I loved it. Like, I loved it so much. And yeah, I loved the chemistry between him and the female lead, Kate. I think Kate and Tyler are the characters' names. And oh, it was just so good. I loved it. There's a bit of a twist in the middle. You kind of don't know who's the good guys and the bad guys. And it's just great. It's just great. I loved it so much. And in 4DX, it's so fun. Like, you really feel like you're on a roller coaster. And yeah, I loved it. I was having a good cinema run then, because 2 days later I went to see Forrest Gump in the cinema. Now, when I tell you this film has altered my brain chemistry, it has. So they were doing a rerun of Forrest Gump, so I thought I'd go to see it. I quite like to go and see classics when they come on in the cinema, because as you guys know, I'm terrible at watching films at home. So when I have a chance to watch a classic in the cinema, I will always try and do that. And oh my gosh, no one warned me this film was going to pull my heart out and stomp on it for 2 hours. I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed again. It probably haven't cried this much since Iron Claw. It was the sort of cry that you're like, I was a mess, an absolute mess. The cinema was really, really busy, obviously with lots of Forrest Gump fans who'd probably seen it before, so wasn't having the kind of visceral reaction I was having to it. It is a beautiful, emotional story following this man's life and his love for his friend Jenny. And honestly, the next day, I spontaneously burst into tears 3 times thinking about it, because if I think about it for too long, I cry. Oh, it's so emotional but beautiful, and his love is so pure, and I loved it. If I talk about it any longer, I will actually just start crying. 8.5, the biggest rating I've given this year. It's just so emotional and so beautiful. I think I am going to raise Twisters to an 8.3, because I think if you see a film 3 times in the cinema, you must love it. I want to watch Forrest Gump again, and I want to watch it with my mum because I feel like she'll cry the whole way through as well, and I feel like I need to share that with someone. She has not seen it before. I had so many DMs after my reaction. If you want to get my live reactions to the cinema, obviously not sitting in the cinema, but as soon as I leave, I normally review it as I walk into my car. And I've never had so many DMs from people about my reaction to Forrest Gump, and from lots of people saying this is my reaction, this is the reaction when I showed my husband. Like, oh my gosh. It's really emotional, but it's also funny, it's heartwarming, it's everything you want from like a wholesome film that will make you sob, and boy, it was great. And also I just love Tom Hanks. Apart from Asteroid City, I've never seen a film with Tom Hanks in as bad, so just saying. The next film I went to see was Thelma. I gave this a 6.9. I love this film. It was really cute. It's kind of a smaller indie film, which I'm trying to see more of. It's about an old lady that gets scammed, like an internet or phone scam, and it's basically about her trying to find the scammer, and about her relationships with her friends, and about dying and about getting older, and also about her family supporting her through this time in her life. And oh my gosh, this woman is feisty. I love her. It had points where I was crying, a lot of points where I was laughing, and it was just a really good film. I feel like we've all know people in our life that have been scammed and have got our money taken when it shouldn't have been, and I feel like to watch that and the conversations about getting older and kind of losing your sense of self and losing your sense of what word am I trying to say? Independence. And yeah, it was just so good. I really enjoyed it, and it was really fun. Like, it was a fun film, but also had like a good message behind it. Loved it. Gave it 6.9. The next film I saw the day after, I went from a film with a great storyline and like great character development and all that to Deadpool and Wolverine. And you guys know, I love Marvel. I got into Marvel films annoyingly after Endgame, so I watched them all during COVID and absolutely loved them all. Obviously, since Endgame, we've been on kind of a downward spiral. I didn't love this film. I thought it was funny, and I gave it a 6.5, which looking now, I don't know if it's too generous. I feel like it's not too generous. I laughed a lot. You had to have seen a lot of the Marvel films to kind of, I think, appreciate the full plot. I have seen all the Marvel films, minus the Marvels, which I haven't seen, and I've watched Loki, which I feel like is one of the only really new things you really should watch before you go to Deadpool and Wolverine. Is the 2 series of Loki on Disney Plus, because it does take place, a lot of it, or the start of it, in the TVA, and it's talking about timelines and things like that. It just needed a better plot, and it just missed the mark for me. Like, the plot was not there, and I'm really sad about it, because it was funny and the characters are brilliant, and I just wanted so much more. I also think, take this with a pinch of salt, because I'm not the biggest X-Men fan. I've seen the X-Men films once, and haven't seen kind of much of the other kind of Fox universe, and it is kind of just a love letter to the Fox films, and as someone that didn't really watch them films, didn't grow up watching them films, obviously I probably missed out on quite a lot. I just didn't love it, and I was annoyed that I didn't love it, because I was really hoping this was going to be the film that kind of really got me back in. But you know what, I'm putting it down to, I don't know, it's going to stay at 6.5. I feel like that's the same thing I rated Challengers, that's the same thing I rated, what else did I rate at 6.5? The Bike Riders. I just don't know. I feel like I'm happy with 6.5. I judge my own scores and hate my own rating system more than anyone, I feel like. The next film I went to see was Longlegs. I gave this a 6.3. Now I'm looking at that, feels too low, because I feel like, I don't know, Longlegs. It was good. It was the first horror film I've seen in the cinema, by myself, and I'd always been kind of too scared of going to see horror films by myself, which is strange, because as a child, when I was like 12, 13, give me a horror film any day and I would watch it. Like, I loved a horror film. I would watch them alone, which boggles my brain now, and I just loved them. I never got scared by a horror film, so I don't know why when I became an adult I suddenly got scared of watching horror films. Longlegs was preached to be the scariest film you're ever going to see. People were like, I didn't sleep for weeks after watching this. It wasn't that scary. The villain in it, like the scary guy, is just weird. I didn't find him like particularly scary. it was set out, like the eeriness was there, but I think like the eeriness was much more pronounced in like the zone of interest and things like that. I feel like having seen loads of films, I feel like I'm appreciating things I would probably not have appreciated before. And like with the zone of interest, that eeriness and the unsettled feeling you have throughout was what people were describing with Longlegs. And I just felt that so much more with the zone of interest. I felt like, I don't know, that kind of feeling and uneasiness inside me didn't really come in Longlegs. I didn't feel on edge, and I don't know why. So I gave it a 6.3. And it's not to say it isn't a good film. I wanted to be scared by it and I wasn't. So it got a 6.3. Then I went to see Twisters again because I loved it. I saw it in 2D. Brilliant. Still just as good. And then the next film I went to see was a film called Babes. This was on unlimited screening, which is always fun to go see it before it like kind of comes out in general release in the cinema. It is now showing, but I doubt by the time this goes out it still will be in the cinema, only because they're still only doing 1 or 2 showings a day. I love this film. I gave it an 8. It is a comedy film based on these 2 girls and their friendship and kind of their dynamic changing as they get in different in different positions in their life. So it starts the film with one girl having her second child, and then while that's happening simultaneously, the other character meets someone and then falls pregnant. It's kind of just about their dynamic, and one's more mature maybe and has got her family and all that, and the other one is still kind of trying to figure life out. And it's kind of just about friendships changing in probably your 20s, 30s, and kind of navigating that while also, you know, holding down a family life and a job and all that. And it was just a really nice kind of talk about womanhood and the things that we have to put up with, and things we're expected to do and things like that, but told in a really beautiful way and told in a really like fuck you way to all of the horrible stuff we have to go through in life. And it was just really good and I really enjoyed it. I loved their friendship. It was funny. It kind of reminded me of the friendship I have with the girls, where we're quite rude, and it was just funny and I just liked it. People were describing it as the Bridesmaids but for babies, and I feel like I've not seen Bridesmaids, which I know, crime, I can imagine that. Like, it was such a good film and I really enjoyed it. I loved kind of the feminist aspect of it. I love how when the main character falls pregnant, it isn't just assumed she will keep it. There's a conversation of whether she will or will not keep it, and I just love that these conversations are just being put as just normal in films, which they should be, and I just love that. So I really liked this film. Again, I've heard like kind of mixed reviews about it, but like I feel like it was great and I loved it. The next film I went to see was A Quiet Place Day One. Now, I've looked and saw that I gave this a 6.8. This was not better than Deadpool and Wolverine. It's getting downgraded. It's now a 6.5. I liked this film, but I didn't love it. I get that the whole entire film is about being quiet, but I feel like I wanted more dialogue. And I know that's a stupid thing to say, because I can't do that. Because, you know, that's not what this film is about. But I feel like I just wanted more. I wanted more of a storyline. Obviously, it's the prequel to the other films. And again, I haven't seen the other ones. I know I'm terrible and haven't seen any films, but I just felt like I wanted slightly more from it. It was fun and it was more like, it kind of gave me the vibe of like World War Z, which is like one of my favourite films ever. I don't know, I wanted more. I don't know what I wanted, but I wanted more. And that's kind of the feeling I get with a lot of films. But yes. On to the final film I've seen this year. I saw this yesterday. And that was It Ends With Us. And I gave that a 7. I have not read the book, but I really liked this film. I'm thinking about it a lot. Maybe I'll have to bump it up. It is a film about, well, it's based on a book, like a best-selling book for one, a book that went kind of viral on TikTok and places like that. So it's a really big book, and in terms of its people's love for it, I don't think it's a particularly big book. Anyway, I thought it was good. It's about a woman who gets into a relationship and he starts hurting her, essentially. And it's a really hard-hitting film about domestic abuse, but in like a kind of more digestible way, if that's even something I can say. It's set about her dynamic with a couple of different characters. She's got a childhood kind of lover that is kind of in the film as well, reuniting with him. It's about kind of the cycle of abuse and breaking that cycle of abuse. And I feel like this film ends in a much of a positive way as a film like this can end. There is quite a lot of cliche bits in it, which I get is from a book. I think the author does write some quite cliche books. Like, the main character is called Lily Bloom and she opens a flower shop. Like, tell me that is not cringe. But I liked kind of, I don't know, it's one of those I don't want to say I liked because it's about something so horrible, but it was a really good film. The scene with her best friend when she kind of discloses to her friend what's been happening broke my soul, and the way the friend reacted to it was just like beautiful and it got me emotional. I cried a lot during this film, and I feel like it's quite good for pointing out kind of the early signs of abuse. And you know, obviously you go into it knowing this is a storyline. They don't hide it in the trailer that this man does not treat her well. So like from the first conversation, I could start seeing red flags in the way he was speaking to her. I know, and I know they put it out like that intentionally, and I feel like it is probably a good film for people to see, to sort of see the first signs. And obviously this is a book, like a love story book. It's not going to be perfect, but I did really like the film and I gave it a 7 because it got me really emotional. And when I tell you the screening was packed, it was so busy, obviously with fans of the book by the like conversations I was kind of hearing when I was waiting for the film to start. But I really liked this film, and boy did I cry. And that's it for my film review so far this year. I wanted to hit 56 films. I feel like that's very doable. I'm already on 42 and we're in August, so I've got a long time, so who knows how many films I'll end up on by the end of the year. But yes, I've been really enjoying it. I did have the cinema book 5 times this week. I did cancel a couple. The next films are on my radar is Trap. I really love the trailer for this and it has the potential to be such a good film, but I've heard terrible things. And then Borderlands is like this new big blockbuster, but I've heard terrible things. I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes and it's 9%, which is terrible. So I really want to see it because I'm trying to just see everything, but people have said that it's like the worst 2 hours of their life, and I'm like, do I want to put myself through that? I don't know. I don't think I do, but I feel like I probably will. But that's it for today's video. Please let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these films. If you have, please let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me. As you guys know, I'm quite legendary for loving terrible films. So let me know in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.